In ancient times, there was an endless war between humans and monsters with no end in sight. Thousands of years ago, Emperor Yu used the power of pattern for the first time. With this power, the emperor managed to seal the progenitor of the monsters. Since then, the monsters had sought to break the seal, leading to a centuries-long war with humans. When the emperor felt that his time was running out, he bestowed the power of the pattern, capable of defeating monsters, to 5 families. From that moment on, humanity began to use the level of the pattern as a status designation. Level 9 for the most noble, Level 1 for the lowest born. Currently, one of the lowest born humans was working as a salesman in a store. A customer came into the store and began to resent that people with the lowest pattern level were only wasting air, so he asked the salesman for cigarettes. As you can see, the customer had a pattern around his neck, showing that the customer had a level 5 pattern. The guy pulled out the item the buyer asked for and asked for payment of 30 yuan. The man began to resent that the salesman had no conscience since he was asking him for money. After all, he's fighting monsters to protect a pathetic bunch of scum like the salesman. The man became indignant and called for the manager. The manager immediately appeared in front of the buyer and asked what the buyer wanted from him. The man demanded that the salesman be fired because the salesman demanded that he pay for the merchandise and not just take it. Soon in the store's locker room, the manager was apologizing to Chi. However, the guy understood everything perfectly well and decided to quit his job himself, so as not to cause the manager any problems. Chi reminds us that they have experienced this kind of treatment more than once. People with high-level patterns will never consider low-level people as their equals, and in fact, they will not consider them as people at all. Guy notes that his dismissal is not the manager's fault. Sun has always treated him well, so he asks that Sun not feel guilty. The manager only hoped that the guy would get lucky in the future and gave him half a month's salary. As soon as Chi walked out of the store, his sister immediately approached him. The sister reported that she had sold her painting and earned 1,000 yuan. She excitedly told him that soon she would have a lot of money and then the brother wouldn't have to work several jobs at the same time. Her brother, on the other hand, felt that his sister's health was more important to him, so he wanted to take all the financial burdens on himself. Passing by the food counter, the sister couldn't look away. The brother asked the sister if she wanted ice cream. However, the sister remarks that her health is poor, so she cannot eat cold. The brother thought that on rare occasions, one could afford to eat such a thing as well. So he approached the vendor and asked for 1 strawberry ice cream. As soon as the sister took the ice cream, the first thing she asked the brother was if he wanted to try the ice cream. However, the guy thought that ice cream was only for children. The sister happily started eating the ice cream, so the brother didn't want to spoil the mood and decided to tell her about the dismissal after they got home. Suddenly, the street where the brother and sister were shook violently. The street shook because of the sudden appearance of a giant monster. People tried to run away from the monster. They wondered how the monster appeared in this area. After all, it was under the protection of the Zhong family. The brother grabbed his sister's hand and decided to run to the shelter. He thought that there must be someone from the Zhong family patrolling nearby. If they managed to take shelter, they would be safe. The sudden appearance of the monster caused the girl to drop her ice cream and looked at him sadly. The sister couldn't run because of her poor health, so she immediately started coughing. The brother noticed that his sister couldn't run and lifted her up on his shoulder. This was the first time the guy had heard of monsters being able to enter a protected area, so he thought something strange was going on. The Zhong family was one of the 5 families that received a gift from Emperor Yu. The giant monster was just around the corner, but people were still trying to save their lives and running as hard as they could. The guy was still trying to realize why the monster appeared in the Zhong family's territory. He realized that he needed to be more careful the next time he went out into the city. The most important task at the moment was to get his sister Lin Lin to the shelter. As he ran up to the shelter, he noticed that there were a lot of people standing near the shelter. He asked Auntie Jiang, who knew him, why everyone was standing outside and no one was entering the shelter. However, the answer came quickly enough. The man at the entrance of the shelter asked everyone to take their time. He explained that there were a limited number of seats in the shelter, so those with patterns below the 3rd level would not be able to enter the shelter. The ordinary people were shocked when they heard such terrible things. They couldn't understand why they were going to be left to die and not allowed into the shelter. Someone even suggested that everyone should run inside and then the man wouldn't be able to stop them. Chi stepped forward and notices that if people crowd near the entrance of the shelter, it will attract the attention of the monsters, and the shelter won't last long. He notices that the area is under the protection of the Zhong family, so they should be sending someone to help soon, and then everyone won't have to stay in the shelter for long. The man notices that the guy knows a lot, and since he knows a lot, he must be strong. So the man suggests Chi to take the monster away from this place, because according to Chi, the Zhong family will soon come and save everyone. However, at that moment, the man noticed that the guy only has a level 1 pattern, so the guy can't enter the shelter. People began to complain that the man just wanted them dead, he just wanted to survive. Someone pointed out that he had a level 3 pattern, so he asked to be let inside the shelter. Someone started complaining that because of the slowness of the process, they would die faster before they checked the pattern levels of everyone present. A general panic started and people were swearing at each other, which was what the man wanted. However, at this moment, Chi decided to change things and said that he would try to distract the monster and drive it away, but everyone else should take cover in the shelter. The man was shocked when he heard such words from the guy. Chi decided to go on an incredibly dangerous mission, so the first thing he did was to approach Auntie Jiang and ask her to look after his sister. The sister was scared, but her brother told her not to worry, because he would come back right away after taking the monster away from this place. The guy wondered if everyone would be able to enter the shelter now. The man was shocked at such a reckless decision by the guy and didn't know what to say. Chi points out that the man should let everyone into the shelter, or else he will regret later that many people died because of his fault. Other people felt that the man didn't care about them. Some were even still trying to force their way in, hoping to get into the shelter. Eventually the man gave up and said that everyone could enter the shelter but had to observe the line. He even snidely remarks that the guy will definitely die. The sister is upset by such words. Chi only went as a lone warrior to the front lines while everyone else entered the shelter. The monster happened to be very close to the shelter, so the guy sprang into action. He started to draw the monster's attention to himself. The monster seemed strange to the guy, so he worried that the shelter might be in danger. The guy remembered well his rough childhood with his sister. He had a level 1 pattern and his sister had a level 0 pattern. In a society where level 9 pattern holders are at the top, the brother and sister were considered trash, so they were kicked out of the house. However, all these patterns had already bored the guy. The most important task for him right now was to get the monster away from the shelter for Lin Lin's sake. He kept running away and hiding again and again, then running away from the monster again and hiding again. In the end, the guy was too tired. He couldn't understand why the people from the Zhong family never arrived to deal with the monster. The guy thought that the monster looked like a tarantula. Such spiders usually hunted by relying on vibrations, so he tried to calm himself down, although it was difficult because he was too tired. The monster at this very moment loomed over the guy's head. The monster decided not to torture its victim any longer and attacked the guy. But at that moment a lightning bolt appeared and someone interfered with the monster. As it turned out, a girl with a halberd appeared behind the guy's back. She used the magic shield created with the halberd to block the monster's strike. The one who saved the guy was a girl with snow-white hair and horns on her head, as if she was a dragon in human form. The girl took advantage of the moment, and a ghostly dragon materialized on the end of her halberd. After that, she directed her attack towards the monster, and the dragon passed through the monster. The monster was instantly defeated, and she couldn't take her eyes off the defeated monster. The girl immediately inquired if the guy was okay after the monster attack. Chi noticed that the girl had a 6-level pattern, so he thought that she was one of the Zhong family's elite fighters. He admitted that he was fine. However, at this moment, the entire area near them shook again. As it turned out, the monster was still not dead and managed to rise again. The girl is disappointed that the monster is not dead, so she is already seriously going to deal with the monster. This time the monster threw the girl into the wall with ease. The guy only had time to run up to the girl and help her to her feet before the monster was immediately beside them. The girl was frustrated and didn't realize how the monster had gotten stronger after coming back to life. She wanted to report this situation to the head of the family as soon as possible. However, the girl realized that she would go to report the situation to the family, then the monster would deal with the guy first, and then quickly catch up with her as well. However, if she fights the monster and lets the guy escape, they might have a chance of survival. She tells the guy to run away. The girl wants the guy to go to the head of her family and report that the D-class monster has been upgraded to C-class after being revived. The guy is worried about the girl, but she is determined and states that they each have an important mission. However, this is when Chi messes things up as he gets a headache. The girl can't understand what's going on. She tries to push the guy aside as the monster was rapidly approaching them. In defiance, the guy grabs the girl's hand. Suddenly, the guy's forehead glowed and his body was enveloped by golden energy. It was as if he was being filled with divine power and a horn grew on his head. The guy was still trying to understand what had just happened to him, as even his clothes had changed. However, the monster didn't want to leave the guy no chance, so it tried to attack him. This time Chi didn't flinch or retreat, and attacked the monster with his dragon power. The guy noticed that the dragon was similar to the one the girl had used. He wondered how he had managed to use the girl's skill. The girl admitted that she didn't know how she teamed up with the guy. She noticed that not only could the guy use her abilities, but his abilities were stronger than hers. Chi Yui didn't fully understand what was even happening to him. However, he decided that he should deal with the monster first and then try to think things through. The girl agrees with him. The guy seems to have decided that he will now be Gilgamesh, so he summoned a multitude of swords. And after that, the guy brought all those phantom swords down on the monster, destroying it. The girl was glad that they still managed to defeat such a dangerous monster. Despite the damage it had received, the monster was still showing signs of life. Therefore, without even an ounce of doubt, Chi Yui detonated all the phantom swords that had entered the monster's body. Only after that did the monster stop giving signs of life. The guy wondered if the monster was actually dead, considering how many times the monster didn't give up. The girl advises the guy to cautiously approach the monster and check it out. Chi Yui decided to follow the girl's advice and went to the monster. However, as soon as he got close to the monster, he and the girl split into two separate bodies again. At the same moment, he began to fall down, for he was just an ordinary person. However, his life was saved as the girl managed to pick the guy up in her arms before he fell to the ground and crashed. After that, she landed safely together with the guy. Because of the strange situation that occurred, they even both blushed, and the girl put the guy on the ground. After that, Chi Yui thanked the girl for her help, but she disagreed because she was the one who should thank the guy. At this moment, the girl's subordinates appeared. She ordered the subordinates to start the auxiliary operation after the disaster as usual. The girl then grabbed the guy's hand and dragged him behind her. Chi Yui wanted to go to his sister since she was still in the shelter. However, the girl noticed that since the sister was in the shelter, she was safe. The girl had a few questions for the guy. She took him aside and wondered why the guy was able to use her power. Chi Yui himself couldn't understand, since this was the first time this had happened to him. The girl started looking at the guy with a serious look, which made the guy worried. After that, the girl handed the guy her business card and told him that if he needed anything, he could contact her. The guy amusedly wondered if they would take him to a research institute for an autopsy to find out the cause of his powers. The girl only laughed at such assumptions of the guy. She decided to reassure the guy that he was too rare a specimen. Considering his life, the guy thought it didn't sound like he was special, but that he belonged to an endangered species. She announces that she will protect the guy. A subordinate ran up to the girl and handed her a phone, informing her that the master was looking for a girl. The girl took the phone and started talking to the master. The subordinate looked at the guy with displeasure and even called him low-level trash. The girl finished talking on the phone and immediately called out to the subordinate. He immediately bent down to take the phone from the girl and asked what else he could help his miss with. However, to his surprise, his miss informed him that she was firing him. The subordinate helplessly fell to the ground, trying to realize how he lost his job. Chi Yui, on the other hand, asks the girl not to pay attention to such statements to him because he is already used to such things. However, to his surprise, the girl thanks him again and gives him a gift, a card. She asks the guy to accept her gift because he saved not only her, but also all those who were on the street. The guy looked at the card the girl gave him and then put it in his pocket. The girl's name was written on the card, Zhong Yuyan. Chi Yui accepted the gift from the girl, then said goodbye and went to the shelter where his sister was. Looking after him, Zhong Yuyan said that this guy was the key to resolving the whole situation. Soon the sister had to be taken to the hospital. Qi Yue applied cold compresses to her head to bring down her fever. The sister tried to reassure her brother, noticing that she was fine. However, the brother noticed that the sister's temperature had risen slightly. He thought it was because the girl had been scared a lot yesterday. As soon as he returned to the shelter after fighting the monster, his sister immediately ran up to him and hugged him. The people who were in the shelter were happy that the guy was alive and greeted him as a hero because he had saved everyone. A man immediately ran up and got on all fours in front of the guy. He apologized for deliberately putting people in a difficult situation, so he asked that the guy ask the Zhong family so they wouldn't fire the man. The man did not do this at all sincerely, he was only worried about his job. It was too humiliating for him to bow down in front of a guy with a level 1 pattern. Lying in the hospital bed, the sister apologizes to her brother and admits that she feels like she's pulling her brother back. She wanted to say that her brother almost died yesterday because of her, but her brother interrupts her and refuses to listen to such words. He points out that outsiders' conversations are not about their family. So if the sister feels guilty, let her make him the best radish and pork rib soup when she recovers. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door of the girl's room. The brother decides to go and see who came, and he asks his sister to take her medicine and get a good night's sleep. As soon as he came out of the hospital room, he was greatly surprised. In front of the sister's hospital room gathered incredibly many people, so the guy could not help but be surprised by this turn of events. Qi Yue wonders if the people came because of Miss Zhong. The guy immediately admits that this is the case and he is following Miss Zhong's instruction. However, the blonde guy with glasses immediately runs up to the guy and informs him that if he falls into the clutches of the first guy's family, he will become useless. The blonde guy with glasses thought the guy was interesting, as the guy was a low-level pattern holder and has abilities like a high-level one. The blonde guy with glasses thought that this was a new mutation, and he was eager to study this mutation. Qi Yu was stunned by such remarks towards him. A girl standing nearby remarks that scientists are crazy and that they only want to study someone or dissect them. She tries to seduce the guy and wonders if he wants to join the Shen family. After all, they are no less noble than the Zhong family. Suddenly, the guy is in incredible demand. The Zhong and Shen families wanted to get their hands on him. Someone present also noticed that his family also wanted to get the guy. They were surprised that the guy was being offered the best options. However, the guy was not so simple. He only saw strained smiles in their gazes. People still thought he was trash. They thought he was just lucky and that any of the families just wanted to squeeze everything out of him and throw him away. In their minds, they only thought that he was trash, and thus would always remain trash. Qi Yue did not underestimate himself, so he informed the others that since they wanted him to join one of their families, he wanted to talk to everyone in turn. And after that, he would decide which family he would go to. This antics of the guy infuriated almost everyone present. They began to resent that the guy is taking too much on himself, and after all, he is only a low level. However, the guy didn't lose his pride, and he pointed out that everyone present should realize that they were the ones begging him to join them. The guy even showed in front of the eyes of those present the card that Zhong Yuyan had given him. Qi Yue informs the guy who was from the Zhong family that since the eldest daughter of the family kindly invited him, he feels it is too disrespectful to reject such a generous gift. So he informs that he is joining the Zhong family. However, there was a problem. His sister had a fever, so his sister needed to stay in the hospital. The Zhong family guy immediately understood everything and said that the girl would be taken with Qi Yue to the Zhong family's private hospital. After that, the guy went back to his sister's room. Everyone who came was furious at the guy's antics. Someone even remarked that such a guy couldn't be made to bow his head by power alone. The sister inquired what had happened. The brother reassured his sister, for they would be fine now. At this time, a raven was watching the conversation between the brother and sister on a tree branch near the hospital. In the evening of the same day, Qi Yue went to the Zhong family's house. There were many people in the Zhong family house. As soon as Qi Yue arrived at the Zhong family house, the atmosphere immediately changed. The guy was immediately surprised that someone with a level 1 pattern was able to enter the house. The man behind him even called Qi Yue pathetic. The girl standing next to him advised them to be quiet because the low-level guy had arrived with the manager. The guy was surprised that Manager Sun had personally invited such a weakling. Chi Yui walked along with the manager through the scornful gazes of the people present. Suddenly, a blond man with a glass of wine in his hands blocked their way. He inquired as to why Manager Sun had let the one-level guy in. Manager Sun respectfully addressed young Master Tsui and pointed out that this was Master Zhong's special guest, so the manager asked to let them pass. The blond man suspiciously yet contemptuously eyed the guy in front of him. He didn't understand how such trash could be a special guest. Manager Sun was still trying to be friendly and asked young Master Tsui to let them pass. However, at this moment, Chi Yui intervened in the conversation. It infuriated the blond man that some guy with a level 1 pattern decided to show himself as an important person. The blond man thought that low levels like the guy in front of him had no right to drink good wine. After that, he poured the rest of the wine in his glass on Chi Yui's head. Chi Yui noted that the blond man had started it himself. The blond man only smirked and was about to beat the guy up. However, at that moment, Chi Yui easily punched the blond man, who did not expect it at all. Tsui didn't understand why he couldn't transform. Chi Yui didn't give the blond man time to think and pinned him to the ground, demanding an apology. The blonde refused to apologize, and then Chi Yui slapped him again demanding an apology. After the educational measures, Chi Yui still received an apology from the blond man. Chi Yui thought that the guy in front of him was a weakling. Even though he was a high level, he couldn't even use his own strength. However, as soon as Chi Yui moved away from the blond man, he was immediately able to use his powers. Only now did Chi Yui realize that the red glow he saw was a sign of transformation. The blond man was furious and was about to finish the guy off. However, at that moment, a portal formed behind his back. A giant dog's mouth appeared out of the portal, and the blond man immediately freaked out, sensing something wrong. It was too late to react in time, and the arrogant blonde lost his head. Why must there always be someone arrogant who gets punished for his arrogance? What do you think of this manhwa? And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you would like to see a sequel, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your wishes in the comments. You can also subscribe to Telegram to know about new videos. Bye everybody.